Hi there, Prairie Plant Girl here. It's the 19th of October. Time to get my potatoes dug up. I have 2 pots of red Norland. There's a chance throughout Easterling I had trouble. They're safe seed potatoes, and when I planted them I wasn't completely sure what they were. And a pot of French Fingerling, and then this bed is filled with red Norland potatoes. So I have pulled a few, like dug around with my hands and pulled a few plants here of the in-ground potatoes, just to sneak a few early in the season and for some meals here. But for the most part, this bed still has the potatoes planted in it, so should be a good harvest. I usually get the best harvest out of the in-ground pots, not so much. But I thought I'd bring you along. I like to wait. Like I said, it's October 19th. The weather is cool. It's supposed to be a warm day. We're still getting the odd warm day in the low 20s here, which is Celsius here in Saskatchewan, Canada. But we're getting freezing pretty much every night now, around -5, sometimes a little warmer, but definitely getting to the cool season. And so because the weather is like that, I want to get this done before it gets too cold, and it's supposed to rain in a few days. It's not fun to dig these out. And it's easier to store them. I just store them in my garage or my basement. I keep both areas, just make sure that they don't freeze in those areas, and that's where I store my potatoes. But if I harvest them too soon, then it's too warm in those areas because the temperatures outside are keeping those spaces warmer. So that's why I like to wait. I've had a big hoop, like kind of pop-up mini grow tunnel on this bed for a couple months now. That was just as the potato plants were basically died back, but I wasn't ready to harvest them. I was just keeping, if we had any rain or anything, off this bed to help keep it dry. But I've put that away now, and it's time to get the potatoes out. So let's get going. So I thought we'd start with the potted potatoes because they're kind of in my way right now anyway. And we'll see what we got out of those. So I've just got a bucket. This is actually, some stoves have a drawer in the bottom, and there's a liner in those drawers quite often. And this is the liner out of an old stove that a relative was getting rid of, and we just took some of the bits and pieces off of it that could still be used before it had to go to the recycler. So we'll do the French Fingerling first. It says I put 9 seed potatoes in this pot here. I'm pretty sure they were all smaller seed potatoes. These are just from my saved stock. So I'm just gonna pull the old plants out. A couple little potatoes came off of them. I didn't grab a bucket for these. I always forget to grab something to put the potatoes in. Get something. This should work. There, so we'll set those over there. And there's just a little bit of kind of mulch on the top of this bucket, so I'm just going to pull it out. So there shouldn't really be too many potatoes in there. I'll just get it out of my way before I start sifting. I can see potatoes in here though. Definitely no potatoes in there. I'm just going to dump this. And let's see what's in here. A little bit more in there, but there's potatoes right off the bat. Oh, those are nice potatoes. Kind of filled that a little fuller than I had intended. Let's see if we can get some of the soil out of here. So unless the potatoes are really diseased or anything, I just take this soil and dump it onto my raised beds in the garden or out into flower beds, and it gets reused the next season. Even if the potatoes have used up all the nutrients, there's still lots of good organic matter that'll provide loft and aeration to the soil. The last bit of that bucket. Okay, so let's have a look. So not a huge haul, but that's kind of what my potted potatoes have been like this year. I'm neglectful of them, but not bad. Got about 5 really nice sized ones, several kind of medium size, and then a few little tinies. But I'm okay with that. That's about what I was expecting for the care I gave them and the soil I gave them. I think that's pretty good. So I'm just gonna pop these to the side, and we'll get some more. Okay, so next is these Norland, or they could be road ear stilling. There's 3 potatoes in each of the, oh no, it says 4. So 3 potatoes in this bag and 4 in the next. Now, I've had trouble in the past with the potatoes in the bags drying out really fast because the water just runs right through the bag and doesn't stay with the potatoes and the soil long enough to be absorbed. So this year I had experimented, and these are the 2 bags that I planted up in a video. So I'll put a link to that video if you want to see, to try and do something to try and keep the soil in the bag a little, or the moisture in the bag a little bit longer. So again, I'm just pulling that kind of top layer of mulch off. Now again, I was still neglectful of my potatoes this year, so I don't know how well this will have worked out, because I kept forgetting to come and put water on them. But I'm going to dump this out and we'll have a look. 3 seed potatoes went into this. A seed potato, in case you're new to potatoes, is just when you take a potato that you harvested, usually the previous year, and you just plant it in the ground. Some people like to set them out somewhere warm to get some sprouts started before they plant them, and some people just take them straight looking like this and plant them. They'll grow sprouts underground. It just takes longer. This one I can see has a rotten spot in it right now, so I'm going to put it into my bucket to throw away. I'll get this out. So this is what I did to try and hold some moisture in the bottom, and I can feel, even though these have not been watered in months, that this soil has some dampness to it still. So I guess it did its job. And I had that rotten potato there, so how well did it do its job? Was it too well for any that were down close to the bottom? Now these had a pretty heavy mix in them. I also was trying that, putting a heavier mix in to hold more moisture, so it had more like kind of topsoil. I know I saw potatoes when I was dumping it. There's a couple more. Here's a few more. That's an old seed potato, so that'll show you the size. Oh, here's another one. Give you the approximate size of what they were when I planted them. So they just take and use all the nutrients up out of that potato you plant. to grow a new plant and form new potatoes. There's another little one. Oh, and there's the last seed potato. So you can see what a heavy mix this was. It has lots of wood chips and like clay in it. It was a very heavy mix of soil. So let's see. So again, not a great harvest out of that. I mean, I got 3 potatoes close to size that I put in out, and then a few more little guys, but not much. But again, that's kind of how my potatoes were going this year. They're nice healthy potatoes, and there's definitely still moisture in the soil, so I do think that helped. Doing that and using that heavier soil probably made a big difference as well. I just need to remember to take care of them. They were back in an area where they weren't getting as much sun, and I was forgetting to water them, but it's not terrible. So we'll put those here. We'll get the last bucket here and see. So this one had 4. This is also the Norland or Road Easterling, and again, I don't know which they are. Let me get this stuff off of here. There's a potato already. This bag is looking empty. Oh, wait, no. There's a couple. Oh, they look great. There's another one. Okay, I guess I better dump it on my sieve because I'm getting potatoes here. So again, there's that kind of pot saucer that I'd put in the bottom of these bags. There's a seed potato, and there's a new potato. Well, that's a good sized potato. They're really not great looking potatoes though. This bag feels like it has a little bit of moisture to it, but it definitely is drier than the other one was. There's a seed potato stuck to this new potato. It's kind of weird. And again, this was a heavier mix than some of my other pots that I did. I think that's all the potatoes that are in there. Some more not great looking potatoes. I put these in with the ones that I just did, but I can tell the difference because the other ones were really healthy looking potatoes, whereas these are not as much. They'll still be fine to eat though. So something like that is the results there. So got one larger potato and a handful of smaller ones. Get this stuff cleared up and we'll get to the ground potatoes. That's what I'm excited about. So like I said before, this bed is filled with my red Norland potatoes. And again, they were just from my own saved seed potatoes. I'm just pulling back some of the old plants. You can see they're very much dried up and ready to be harvested. I can already see potatoes sticking up out of the ground. The in-ground plants always do much better for me. They're just cared for better. There's more nutrition in the soil just naturally, so I don't need to do a bunch of amending or anything, and it's on an automatic drip system, so. Hopefully you can see the potatoes there as I toss them in the bucket, and I'm just going to get to work and dig these out, and I'll show you what I have at the end. Apparently ladybugs love potatoes. Okay, so there's my potato haul for 2020. Now I have harvested a few potatoes before this, and I've shown you one or two harvests, but this is the main harvest for this season. Like I said, the potatoes that I had in pots this year just did not do well, but you know, that happens, and I find a lot of times the smaller pots here, I think they just get too hot for one, and I'm not good about keeping them consistently watered. I tend to toss them in the back of my property where they maybe aren't getting the sunshine they need, and they're neglected, but that's fine. I still grow them. The French fingerlings did a lot better in that situation, but they were in larger pots, and I do find the larger pots do quite well. In fact, I have some really large, like they used to be boulevard planters for my city. They give me just as good of results, if not better, than my in-ground, like my raised bed potatoes. But I think they're like 10 gallon or something, the big tree pots. They do pretty well, good as well. But my in-ground, my raised bed potatoes always do the best. And you can see they're looking pretty good. I do think I have a couple of Rhode Ursuline plants in here. They're a much different shade of pink. Like they're almost, I don't know, like highlighter pink. And it's hard to tell from the outside of them, and that they're just so much more vibrant in color than the red Norland. But Rhode Ursuline tend to be a little bit more waxy inside. They still have that white flesh that the red Norland has, but they're just a more waxy potato. And actually, we prefer them. I'm hoping to get my hands on a good batch of Rhode Ursuline seed potatoes for next year. Last year was the first time I grew them, and we really enjoyed them. We really like Caribe potatoes, which this is the first year I think I haven't had seed potato for that to grow. Caribe, I don't know, Caribe. They're a purple skin with a really waxy flesh, so similar to the Rhode Ursuline, just different color on the outside. So yeah, it was nice to find just a few in here. They'll be nice to have and enjoy. I did find something interesting. This bed had some pumpkins planted in the front of it and a sweetmeat squash at the back, and those had been started in these little woven bags. Now these aren't my favorite bag. I have a couple of videos about these things and I'm just using up what I have. I'll never buy them again, but since I had them, I used them this year, and this potato just grew right through it. And I don't know how well you can tell, but it just almost seems like it has, I don't think the camera will pick it up, but it almost seems like it has this like almost embedded right into the skin. I don't know if you can see it pulling away off the skin there, like it grew so tight on there. But I thought that was kind of interesting. The potato just smashed its way right through that bag. There were slits in the bag to let the roots out for the pumpkins, and yeah, so those will go in the garbage, those bags. And I had a few potatoes that had just decided to jam themselves right up into the corners of my bed. So I don't know how well you can see, but this one is almost flat on this side and this side. It was jammed right into the corner of the bed. So, you know, potatoes, if they want to grow, they grow. And I had noticed at some point in the season that I had a couple of volunteer onions come up. So we'll take those in and I'll just use them straight in the kitchen. But the potatoes, for the most part, look really healthy. A couple that maybe have beginnings of a little bit of scabbiness. Yeah, this one's definitely scabby, but for the most part, they look really good and healthy. Very nice potatoes. I'm really happy with this harvest. So I hope you enjoyed coming along for the potato harvest. It's one that a lot of people seem to really like to see happen in my yard. Just for reference, my bed here is 4 feet by 8 feet, which I think is like just slightly over a meter by like about 2.5 meters. And it's, I think, like 10 inches, what's that, about 20 centimeters deep. And when I built these raised beds, I filled them with like peat moss and composted manure and vermiculite in most of them, though this one I didn't notice any vermiculates. And then every year I dump like flower pots and homemade compost and things like that into these beds, so they're constantly being kind of kept built up. This bed in particular, I came across as I was digging through a few years ago. I did trench composting, and I can see this is one of those beds. I don't have records on it, but I could tell there'd been trench composting in the bottom of this bed, where there are still some heavier sticks and twigs and things at the very bottom that haven't quite broken down yet. So that was it. That's my potatoes. I have lots of videos about how to store them and what to do to cure them, because they'll need to get cured now. So I'll just be setting them somewhere in the shade where they can get good air circulation. I'll dump them out of this so they're in kind of a single layer and let them get cured. But for the most part, when I leave them this long in the ground like this, like curing is just kind of hardening up the skin so they store better. And when they're not cured, I could do this and just wipe the skin off. But these potatoes really are pretty cured just from being left in the dry ground and having the cool nights. It makes a huge difference in their storability. I don't know, is that a word? It is now. Storability. So I'll leave them out just for a little while in the shade. I don't want the sun getting them, but then I'll pack them up and store them in bags or crates in my garage and basement. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.